So now it is that your girl's recording. Let's go ahead. Let's start up with a video from Mr. MoistCr1TiKaL himself. Man, this situation of him getting dragged for him talking about this Ava Chris Tyson situation. So MoistCr1TiKaL situation crazy. The fact that is that he used the naming, the titling of that from another video into his own video is interesting. So without further ado, y'all, let's get into this next video, y'all. Let's do it.
Heavens to Betsy, what a week, huh, sports fans? Holy Toledo. Yeah, so MoistCr1TiKaL's in a big oopsie-poopsie situation here. It reminds me of the time in Moonfall when KC Houseman sacrifices himself and dies of cringe to become the moon. Yeah, so, being serious now, since this has become such a big issue, I've been in a lot of drama recently. I'm in hot water, and I'm biting on the fart bubbles that pop up in the bathtub here. It is a lot. So let's start with the most recent one today. My retirement. I didn't know I was retiring. That's news to me.
You retiring? What? That was good vibes.
I'm as shocked as all of you are. I had a ton of fun last night playing a game called Clickleding, which is basically like a cuckoldry simulator, but for clicking against like the Lorax in a hotel room. And I just did like an old school gameplay commentary video. I was bubbly, full of jubilation. I posted it today only to learn that I'm just a big old fucking liar. Liar, liar, plants for hire, I suppose. Apparently, and I didn't know this until I posted the video, everyone was under the impression that I was quitting the internet. So I started scratching at the hair on my chinny chin chin, wondering, when the fuck did that happen?
He said, is he? No, he's not. He's not.
Was I sleepwalking? Do I have somnambulism? Is this some kind of like, you know, Fight Club situation? But instead of like Tyler Durden, I have fucking Charles Turden here that's just making wrong announcements. It turns out the patient zero behind all of this was a post Jackson made announcing that I would be leaving the podcasts, which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now, mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, and the podcasts were a big proponent of that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online, and I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at, and last week I told him, hey man, I think this is going to be where I hang up the jersey, you can put it in the rafters, throw it in the dumpster, but I think I'm just going to be, you know, sailing off into the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online. Which he completely understood, so he made the announcement just letting people know that, and then that got spun on Twitter and Reddit as MoistCr1TiKaL's taking an indefinite hiatus and quitting the internet, fundamentally. Don't know when I'll be back. He's done with the internet because of all this controversy. Patooey on his grave. He's gone.
Damn.
When looking at the post, I don't even know where that's coming from. It's literally just talking about the podcast and me just stepping away. Like, it doesn't extend beyond that. I can't even wrap my tiny noodle around how anyone could perceive this as me being done with the internet entirely, but that's the story that they ran with, and that's what...
Hey, listen, people are going to take the smallest thing and run with it at the end of the day. You could literally will sit there and say it is, hey, I'm going to quit playing a certain particular game on stream, and then somebody be like, oh, AuriTheMermaid has officially said it is that she quit streaming. It's like, when did I say that? Like, some people take things just out of proportion for no fucking reason, bro.
What most people saw, not the actual post. So everyone thought I was quitting the internet, so I posted that video that I was really happy with because it just felt like an OG old school video that made me happy. And then bang! Just a flood of comments and dislikes all saying shit like, how could you fucking deceive us? I thought you quit, huh? What happened to leaving, huh? I just read this post on Twitter from an account that had a profile pic of titties photoshopped onto Thomas Edison that said you were done, and it had 50,000 likes, so I know it was true, and you're just a fucking liar. I can't even just peacefully walk away from some projects without it being a massive fucking reaction over actual nothing burger information. And trust me, no one has a palate more refined for nothing burgers than me. I have ranted about the stupidest shit of all time, but this was mind-boggling even for me.
No.
So to set the record straight, no, I'm not retiring, despite what the experts are telling you. All I did was walk away from a couple of projects. Like, that's really it. Like, that's a pretty normal thing to do, especially when one of them I've been doing for, like, 8 years. I really didn't think it was that deep, especially not deep enough for how big of a story it's become with all of the wild narratives running around about the true reason that I stopped doing it. So let's get into that drama. I've talked about it on stream, I don't even know how many times at this point, but we'll just talk about all of it in this video here. So, when covering the Ava Tyson situation, I was
Mm-hmm.
attacked by a lot of people for not being quick enough. Even though I covered it within like the first 6 hours, people were unsatisfied that I hadn't made a video within like the first fucking 20 minutes of it dropping. And then when I did finally finish the full video covering all of it, it was another massive problem where now I only did it out of an obligation because people called me out, and then I also got accused of being a transphobe because I didn't use Ava Tyson's preferred pronouns, which were she, her. I didn't know that. I thought just calling Ava Tyson by her name was okay, and I had also heard when I went to the Mr. Beast thing, someone refer to Ava Tyson with they. So I was truly under the impression that that was okay. And for that,
I feel like you would have thought it like the way how people like bitched about that. You would have thought it is that that like Charlie actually said like a mispronoun, like a real mispronoun, which he didn't. He addressed Ava by her name. Like it wasn't really any pronouns that I can really attest to, but the fact that like I hate to say that, but it's just like you said as a trans person myself, I have a lot to say about the Ava situation. Well, Minnie, let me know what it is that you feel towards everything. You know what I mean? Now, I just my thing is that there is a bit of like anytime it is like there has to be a level of education that people need to put out there. Now, of course, and especially in the year of 2023, we do need to make sure. Oh, what's good, Peg? We do need to make sure it is that like we're being mindful of asking the questions of just like of my people it is that got different pronouns. What are their preferred pronouns? We do need to be inclusive when it comes down to stuff like that. But I think honestly speaking here, that we do need to start like being, let's not make it a big of a deal when it comes down to a point when we say something on accident. You know what I mean? Like a simple, hey, listen, these are my preferred pronouns. If it was something it is like if it was something completely like, okay, yeah, you did that with intentions of trying to hurt somebody, then yes, I can understand that. But Charlie didn't even do anything wrong within this setting. Ain't that right, Shadow? Like, it didn't do nothing wrong. So it's like, come on, guys. Sorry, y'all, as it is. I have Shadow in the background meowing, and then I'm trying to fix the bit rate, which I was able to stop. So I've been lowering my bit rate more as it is, and I'm streaming so we can able to get everything going. So we should be back. It's not like he came on here and called right. It's like that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like that word phobic is just a word that is used a little too much. I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem. It is that word is just being used out a little bit too much. You know what I mean? That was good, Pac-Man. Welcome on into the stream. He said, all right, so first of all, you know about the past Sunny V2 controversy with Chris video last year. Yes, yep, we reacted to it. Yep. He said no malice behind it at all. Right, there's no malice behind that. I want to make sure it is, even with my wordings, it doesn't come off as offensive. But things it is like I just don't understand why there's a level of education it is that we need to be bringing to people. Like if we say a wrong pronoun, just correct us. You know what I mean? Like say, hey, listen, I my pronouns are this, and this. You know, or another thing is, of course, like with us that do videos, commentary, and stuff like that. Yes, we do need to also be mindful of that. You know, he said Latinos use N word. Oh yeah, they use the N word all the time, all the freaking time, man. But I mean, still, it's just you know. All right, I'm gonna keep fiddling with this thing. Make sure it is my bitrate stays. So
was
bear with me.
annihilated by a good chunk of Twitter. And then annihilated by another good chunk of Twitter because I called out Sneeko, who was the main proponent about me covering for Mr. Beast.
And there's no way it is that people's mad at the fact that he got on Sneeko. If anything, I feel like it is he didn't get on him hard enough. Pause when it is that I say that. There's stuff it is like I just don't understand, chat. Like Sneeko actually be doing the fuck shit. And then when we get tired of it, and then now all of a sudden it is like Charlie's not even a bad person, bro. Like, and he'll let it be known it is, if he did something that's wrong, he'll make a video and apologize about it. When have we ever seen Sneeko actually make an apology video? Ever. Like ever. What are we talking about here?
To keep the collab alive. I wasn't talking about Ava Tyson because I wanted the Mr. Beast collab. And I talked about how absurd that statement was, especially given his history with fighting against the age of consent. He's been very vocal about how much he hates the age of consent, and so I talked about that briefly at the end of the video, which then changed the whole narrative for a lot of people where I never talked about Ava Tyson and only talked about Sneeko. So it was a complete lose-lose, because if I didn't talk about what Sneeko was saying, I would have been called a coward for not addressing it and talking about, like, well, he was going to cover for Mr. Beast until Sneeko called him out. So, like, if I didn't do it, I would have been attacked. I did do it, still got attacked. It really was unwinnable. But from that spawned a conversation where I talked to Sneeko directly, because he was very upset that I was talking about how him rallying against the...
Oh, Peg, you didn't know about that? Yeah, Sneeko actually hates the age of consent. He feels that the age of consent goes based off of maturity and not by age. Yes, he said that before with his own fucking mouth. Now, when it comes down to challenging Sneeko on, okay, what do you feel is the appropriate age then of maturity? Where's my AR? Yo. And he couldn't answer the question. He couldn't answer the question effectively on when is it of mature of women that is considered maturity of consent. It's weird stuff like this. It is lit. And may I add it is these people was trying to defend Sneeko within this. Let's be fucking for real. Okay, so for beginners, that Sunny video is transphobic hit piece, no doubt. The fact that Sunny was right about Chris for the wrong reasons is a very big issue that I see around. He ain't right for that vid. On the other hand, Chris is fucking disgusting for this shit. There's two extreme sides here. People who are defending them for being trans, people who use this situation to hate trans, while the issue is every person, including a trans person, is capable of a heinous act. You know, and this is why it is that when I reacted to the Charlie's first reaction to this is why I was even saying then, I said, I don't like the fact that now this situation with Ava Chris has now made it to a point to where it is people are going to be looking at trans people wrong. And I've always said this of like, just because it is one person within a group is acting fugazi, that does not mean it is other people within that group or anybody within the LGBTQ community is like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a fight. There is a huge fight for that. We watched the video of a couple people within the LGBTQ community that has talked about certain things that they feel about with pride parades and having children being exposed to certain things it is that was at the pride parade. And to be honest with you, like I understand the sentiment. I understand that. But I wholeheartedly will say this with my chest. Chris Ava Tyson actions is fucking disgusting, but does not define people that are trans at all. You know, I know quite a few trans people it is who are identified as trans women and trans men, and they are solid. They don't be on no fuck shit. It's just that particular person was just on it. The agenda of trans equals pedophile, which is very common. It is, yeah, unfortunately it is, it's associated with it. And I don't like that for the people within that identify as trans, because that's not fair. That's not fair based off of somebody else's actions being depicted on y'all. Like, you know?
The age of consent is pedophile arguments, like defending pedophilia. As I've said since the very beginning of this channel, I'm always willing to engage with people I disagree with, and I thought that maybe there was a chance I misunderstood what he was trying to say, even though it's still abhorrent. I thought, okay, maybe he's not actually trying to defend pedophilia. He's like some kind of pseudo-intellectual debate bro who's trying to say something else. So I was willing to hear him out on it, and I talked to him in DMs, and he said he doesn't believe in the age of consent. He believes in the age of marriage, can't assign a number to it, but said that when someone can legally drive, they should be able to marry at the same time. which is
What?
literally like a 15 or 16-year-old, because you get your permanent 15, your license at 16, and both are way too young to be marrying. That shit is completely unacceptable. It is downright disgusting.
I mean, like I'm saying like real back in history and stuff like that. Like before Westerner cultures we learned it is of turning marriages into a business. This was actually a thing. May I add? This was a thing historically that people would do. I mean, there was people in it who was married at like even like like Renaissance era and Renaissance times and like medieval times and stuff like that. They would marry very fucking early. Like that. This is this like that goes back to history that's the case. But Sneeko, this is weird. This is weird. This is wholeheartedly weird. You feel it is that people who are legally able to drive should be legally able to marry at the same age. He's using a religion. Yeah, he is using a religion as an excuse, which is weird because it's like, are you? I don't remember Sneeko being that religious.
Disgusting. He then said that he was happy to discuss it in a call, which I said I was willing to hear him out on, and he said that he would do it later because he was outside doing an IRL stream in Turkey. So, I was willing to hear him out because, again, if this is some kind of crazy misunderstanding, I'd like to know that because it'd be really fucking scary for someone in his position with his level of influence to be actually advocating for adults marrying and fucking children.
Exactly.
That's a huge problem. That's a big fucking problem.
Exactly.
So if there was something that he was like trying to say but failing to do so, I was willing to at least hear it. And this is where the infamous debate came from. The debate that people are calling the debate of the century. I'm kidding, not a single soul on the planet said that. It's actually one of the most dogshit debates I think human beings have ever had. He eventually called me on Discord. I was under the impression this was just him and I talking. I had no idea this was going to be a debate. I thought he was going to try and explain himself like, hey, no, this isn't actually what I meant. This is what I'm trying to say. I thought this was a conversation between him and I, not this kind of debate show that he was putting on for his audience. There is nothing in our DMs that indicated that's where it was going. When I joined the call, he asked if I was going to record it, to which I said, I can if he wants me to, but I was also down to just talk. So I thought maybe he wanted it as a recording to like explain to people like, no, he's not actually a pedophile defender or advocating for that kind of thing. So I thought that is why he asked. I didn't know it was because it was being streamed. Especially because one of his last DMs was about how he's doing an outside IRL stream and he would call me after. To me that says when he's done streaming, that's when we'll talk, not as a part of his stream. I didn't know this was a debate nor a stream until about an hour and 40 into it, roughly somewhere in that ballpark. I am not a debater. I've never claimed to be one. I never want to be a debater.
Yeah,
I've
Charlie's
always
not.
said that I believe conversations are the most productive because debates always devolve into what side can score the most points by explaining their thought process, even if the position is wrong. Whereas a conversation is a very different thing to me. So I didn't even know that's what this was. So obviously, I was unprepared for a fucking debate. So I entered into the Thunderdome and we started talking. I made it clear that I found his statements on the age of consent and children marrying adults being fucking hideous. Absolutely revolting. And then he started arguing about, well, what is a child? We must define a child, you know. It's not actually being under 18. It's all a bunch of hooey. And I really think if you have to start arguing about, well, what technically is a child? You're already way too far gone.
Yeah,
like that is so
I thought he said trial, but he said a child. Yeah, nah, yeah. You start arguing about stuff like that, yeah, you far gone, gang. You gone. You far gone at this point. Jesus Christ. That's how I was trying to hear that correctly. I'm like, is he saying trial? Like you go on trial for something? But he's talking about a child. That is weird. That is weird. I'm not gonna lie. Jimmy! What's up? What's up, Jimmy? I'm not gonna lie. While this does get me antsy while Charlie starts excusing himself, the most of the talented perspective of the YouTuber policy trend, I guess that goes to show you that you're not allowed to be less than perfect. You're supposed to be able to make mistakes. What's out, Jimmy?
Fucking weird. And in no uncertain terms, multiple times throughout the debate, Sneeko says that he is okay with people that are aged 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 marrying adults that are 18 or older.
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Even get back a little bit. Do you think there's not a problem with a child being with an adult?
Okay. We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an adult is. You keep saying.
There's no way. There's no way. There's no way it is that we're there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. And chat, y'all are hearing this yourselves of what this man just said.
Even get back a little bit. Do you think there's not a problem with a child being with an adult?
Okay. We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an adult is. You keep saying.
What is like what what are we? What do you? You can't make this up, guys. You can't make this up. He verbatim is trying to debate that.
Hey, you keep saying that it's 18.
Under 18 is child.
And I'm telling you, that's not even the definition of the word.
What is the number? It needs to be a number, or else you can do the same thing.
I just told you there's not a number.
Do you see why that's a problem?
No.
If there's no defined, so why can't a 12-year-old marry an 18-year-old?
Because most 12-year-olds haven't gone through puberty yet, and most 12-year-olds.
What if, as you just said, it changes? What if a 12-year-old went through puberty early, the parents consent, the 18-year-old and the parents consent? Can they do it?
Most likely that's not going to happen. You know why? Because Islamically, if
we're not talking most likely, just say it.
If the families have consented, the kid is mature, the kid is ready. Why should I stop
at 12 years old? At 12 years old.
What is the definition of being a mature 12-year-old? I'm confused, chat. I'm wholeheartedly confused. I'm wholeheartedly confused here. Why is this a thing? Hi Arson, how are you?
If the kid is physically mature, the parents consent, both parties are happy.
A 12-year-old being physically mature.
If that's the only line that actually makes sense.
Again, I don't think a 14-year-old can ever be physically mature.
Mm-hmm. Even though they literally can. Even though puberty actually defines that, it's fine.
I don't believe so. I was 14 once. I actually had a mustache when I was 14. Would you have looked at me and said I was physically mature enough to get married?
If you were physically mature, if you were mature, yes, I would. Okay.
Really? When I was 14.
Yeah. If you were 14 and you were ready to go and you met another 14-year-old, yes, I would.
No. We're talking adults. You keep going back to that.
That is adult.
I met.
I told you my definition. I told you the definition.
Adult.
The definition. Okay. If you went through puberty, you're an adult. That's the definition of adult. So yes, if you're an adult and you had a mustache, you're ready to get married, fine.
What?
Okay.
Unironically saying a 14-year-old adult, I think, would make most sensible people want to puke. There's so many instances of this, and a lot of the conversation was spent with him talking about, like, overseas age of consent, like talking about how Japan's age of consent was 13 for the longest time, this and that. But the whole thing was like pulling teeth, and it was fucking painful. And I think it's extremely alarming perspective to have. Unironically calling a 14-year-old and 12-year-old mature enough for a marriage, those are middle schoolers. Like, holy shit. I think that is extremely concerning to be advocating for something like that.
Right.
Like, would Sneeko be okay if his best friend ended up marrying a 14-year-old? He certainly shouldn't be. No one should be okay with something like that.
Knowing his weird ass, he'll probably be the best man at the fucking wedding. This is the stuff it is that I'd be talking about. This is like, it's like, what? Now, you said it's like some women approve abortion. That's a whole different topic. And I've always said this before. It is that when it comes down to with abortion, I am pro whatever that woman wants to do at the end of the day. I just find it weird. It is that conservative men, I'm not going to put a race to that, but conservative men feel the need to go ahead and um, try to dictate what women should do with their bodies when it comes down to with that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you said men does not approved. Okay, okay, okay. I was about to say.
Like, that's fucking terrible. That is actually terrible. But now, since I wasn't like holding him to this topic or making sure it stayed on the topic I thought we were talking about, it went all over the place with a
What was
ton of
this,
different
Zach?
things. But the big one, and this is what most people have focused on, which was my response to his question about kids transitioning. And the way he would pose that question would be by asking if I thought it was okay if kids who want to switch their gender go to the doctor and get their dick cut off. Is it okay if a 9-year-old goes to a doctor and gets their cock cut off right then and there? And when posed with that question, I replied with yes. And I've talked about this on stream many, many times now, and I'll talk about it again here. I thought he was talking in hyperbole. I thought he was just exaggerating, being over the top, talking about the entire subject of transitioning. I had no idea that any living, breathing human being actually thought that that's how transitioning works. Where you just
Right.
go into a doctor saying, I feel like switching genders, and they lay you down on the operating table and just snip your whole fucking meat off. I didn't know that that's what he actually believed. I didn't know he was speaking literally.
Wait, he believes that? Sneeko believes that? That's how. Lord, 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 Lord. That's bad. That's bad. That is bad. That is bad. That is bad.
I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over the top statement to encapsulate all of it. Because you literally cannot get that surgery unless you are 18.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, you actually have to go out.
May I add it is that any any levels of transitioning surgeries are extremely expensive. Most health insurances don't even cover that stuff. You know what I mean? It's expensive on both sides um of the spectrum. But it's even more money with additional things being done. Both sides, you know? If I could offer my input as a trans person, no, I don't. No, I think you need to be very certain of yourself, and your mind needs to grow and mature to grasp the consequences of transitioning. I understand coming to the desire to transition, but the act itself before 18, I personally disagree. That and I can understand it as well. I can very much understand that. But I know for a fact it is that you don't like surgery is money. It is also putting your life on the line. That surgery within itself, it, 18 is a fine number. It's a fine number because any level of surgery like that, um, you know, God forbid, it, you're putting your life on the line for this essentially, and there's complications that come from it. So that's another thing. It is that I feel that it has to be from mature base. Now, I have come across quite a few of different types of children, but they've made the decision and they've had family members it is that were okay with the fact of okay, if you want to transition, this is what I'm full-fledged okay with that. But they don't have to go to the levels of surgery. Obviously, it is once they become 18, and if they want to make that decision of wanting to get the surgery done, then they can. Is she in heat? Yeah, she is. Um, but it doesn't. There's things it is like there's hormone replacement stuff, hormone replacement therapies and stuff like that. That children can very much do, and teens can very much do. You know, it's like evolving until your final form. Well, I wouldn't even say final form because even when you start doing the surgery, you have to keep up with making sure it is that like there's like I said, I know a couple people, a couple friends of mine that are trans. It's a few surgeries, a few. It's expensive. It is very expensive. You know, God forbid if something happens to where it is you need to do a revision surgery or you got to get some grafts done or you know what I mean. There's different things to it. It overall it is people spend a lot of money to get the desired self it is that they want. You know what I mean?
out of your way to be that stupid on the topic than you would just spending a couple of seconds looking it up. There are very rare cases where someone under 18 has had that surgery performed. That's
Rare.
not common. So I really didn't think that someone could be so dumb on the topic. I thought he was just speaking in hyperbole, which is my mistake. I should have been more clear instead of making an assumption that he was talking about something nuanced in an over-the-top way. I haven't hid this take, and it's not a new take from me. I've talked about this a couple times throughout the years on stream. I have no complaints if a kid gets interested in transitioning and starts talking to their family about it. So their parents start talking to doctors, the kid starts talking to doctors and therapists and all of this, because the process of transitioning is one that takes place over the course of many years. It's not something that just happens like that.
Exactly.
And I'm also not afraid to admit that I am not the most educated when it comes to transitioning. I am not someone that has a ton of knowledge about the subject to be speaking on it in a really in-depth manner.
Right.
But even I know these very surface level things that everyone has easy access to understand. It is a long process. And I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. And then when they reach the age where
This is why it is that I wholeheartedly feel that there should be. I mean, health. I've always said American health insurance is a scam, and I find it funny when other people like that are not Americans say that, because I wholeheartedly agree with it. Our health insurance is a joke at the end of the day, and I do feel that there should be proper care, support, therapy, and of those natures when it comes down to all of my people. Um, Especially within the LGBTQ community, especially as if you're wanting to transition. Like I wish it is that there was such a fairness when it comes down to that, because therapy is not cheap. Therapy goes based off of your insurances, and most of the time it is insurances may not cover for therapy sessions, or is it very expensive. Like it's the same. I say the same thing about with braces. Braces is considered a cosmetic, and I get it because it is changing your bone structure within your face, the mouth, all of those other things. But that's still people. The average American may not be able to have money to cover stuff like that. But in other countries, it's either covered or it's at a low cost. So things like this is like I never really understood to why that our own American insurance just couldn't cover basic stuff, basic needs for ourselves as of right now, let alone to get something of this. Like America's a business. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's very expensive. And the fact that we got to pay that much for health insurance is crazy. Right, a month. You know what I mean? Like a month. Shit is insane.
where they can consider that surgery and decide they want to do it, then that's all power to them. That's entirely up to them. They have reached that age. They can now do that surgery if they want to. That is not a surgery that's being offered to like a 9-year-old who just says, I feel like changing genders today. It's
Yeah.
just not how it works. And I didn't think
Also, I'm letting this be known. You get levels of therapy before it is that you get that surgery, and then you get therapy afterwards. The biggest part of that is the after effect, because there are levels of like it's with any surgery, to be honest with you, especially a major surgery. It is that I'm glad that there is levels of therapy and counselors that is you can able to talk to about stuff like that, because there is surgery within itself is a very like you have these, did I do the right thing, or I'm having these levels of complications, I'm going through something it is that I haven't been through before. I'm glad it is that they have that. I really do. I wholeheartedly do. It's a surgery that isn't an easy decision. Right, exactly. Once you get it, you rarely will be able to go back. Exactly.
that that's what was actually being discussed because it's so fucking silly. Now, I'm sure there's some really fringe cases you can point to where that kind of thing did happen, but it's not common. Thus, I didn't think that's what was being referred to in the conversation. And it is, again, my mistake for not recognizing that at that moment it was being spoken about literally. So all that shit that people keep dogpiling and spouting about me about how I want all kids to go out there and get their genitals chopped off is just fucked up. Like, it's so ridiculous. I recognize I did a horrible job of arguing in this debate, which isn't surprising considering I don't debate.
No, it's fine, Mitty.
This is not something that's in my skill set.
I mean, if anything, I would actually want you to like actually to say your input when it comes down to this. You know what I mean? I'm glad it is that you are expressing yourself within the chat.
Which of course led to some embarrassingly dog shit arguments. Like the one I've seen people reference a couple times is when I briefly mentioned sports in this topic. It was a stupid point to try and make. I was getting hit by like some rebound psychic damage listening to some of the drivel brain rot that Sneeko was spouting about the age of consent. And I don't know why I thought this was like an argument to try and make, but I brought up sports in this subject and I was going to try and elaborate on it, but didn't at all. What I was going to try and say is that when a kid gets interested in a sport, they'll talk to their parents about it, they'll research the sport, you know, go through the process of learning about it. And when it comes to transitioning, it's still a process where you talk to your family about it, you learn about it. Like, it wasn't a point where I was trying to say, well, changing genders is a lot like picking between baseball and soccer. Like, that's not what I was trying to get at, but because I didn't elaborate on it and it really wasn't a good argument to try and make in the first place, that's one people have harped on a lot. And I get it. Like I said, I am not a debater. Like, I didn't go in here expecting a debate. So I had nothing prepared here for this inundation of outrageous questions and tangents. Like, there was a point where Sneeko was trying to get me to say white power. Like, the whole thing was a fucking mess. It was, without a doubt, probably the worst debate that video has ever been cursed with. And I really regret not doing a better job here. It's not something I should have even done in the first place. I just have a tendency to really hope for the best out of people, and I was really hoping that I and most people were wrong about Sneeko's perspective on the age of consent. However, unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be the case. He was very adamant about this position, and I did a terrible job in arguing with him, and I did a terrible job of articulating my beliefs. I am supportive of the LGBTQ+, and I have been, and that's not something I've been shy about. I just wish I did a better job of expressing that. To be open and honest here, and I've talked about this a lot, I've always treated my channel kind of like a diary for myself, which is why I just talk about so much different nonsense and so many things that I know a lot of people don't give a fuck about, but some of it's fun for me to talk about, or some of it's just things I care about. So being totally honest, I used to treat the internet as an escape from my dog shit real life. Truly unhappy, really hated most of everything about myself, and the internet was my escape from it. But now it's really become that real life is the escapism for me now. Like, I love posting and creating things, but I don't like interacting with the internet around me anymore. And it's something that I started to realize a couple months ago, and I've talked about it on stream a little bit, how because I've covered so many like drama stories and everything, it's pretty much all that I ever get told about when I'm streaming, and it's become such a massive headache, and it's just constant.
Ooh, yo, with the big body raid. That's good, yo. Dang, that was a short stream. Welcome on in, Raiders. Welcome on in. Oh boy, you look tired. Hey, listen, I know you're not talking. At least I'm not sick. But, you know, I was trying to fix this whole OBS issue for a little bit, and then now we've gotten it squared away. But welcome on in, Raiders. My name is AuriTheMermaid. You know, I also mod for this one, and I mod for Yo-Yo. And he is one of the people in the gang. You know what I'm saying? He said that's why I ended. I'm tired and a bit. Hey, listen, are you feeling any better? Are you feeling any better? Well, welcome on in, y'all. Welcome on in. As we're getting through a couple reactions in the time frame, but welcome on in, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Get cozy, get comfortable. Let me know what your pronouns are. Did you get a sip of water? Did you eat today? You know what I'm saying? Let me know.
Negativity that I'm fully flooded with.
Heading to the gym today,
like,
bro.
At all
Fuck
hours.
COVID.
Like, I am in like this human
I hope it is. You got a mask on while it is. You know what I'm saying?
centipede of
What's up,
eating
John? How are
someone's
you?
ass while having my ass eaten, with even more things that I'm being demanded to like talk about, where everything just feels like a lose-lose, and it has been for like the last 6 or 8 months, I feel, where if I talk about something, it's a problem. Even if something is cut and dry, as like Cody Co having sex with a 17-year-old being bad, I caught a lot of shit for that too. I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't see that, but man, the amount of emails I got and a lot of the things I was seeing, even something as cut and dry as that was an issue when I talked about it.
I don't understand how people will make a big deal off of being called out for how weird it is that they are. There's no way. There's no freaking way. Somebody goes ahead and engages in sexual activity with a minor, you call it out and say that's weird. Then you have people calling you the weird one because it is you called the other person out as weird. I will never understand that. Oh man. I get what Charlie's saying though, because a lot of times beforehand, even for me before I started streaming, the internet was the escape away from real life reality. Now it's almost like I gotta go outside to touch grass to take my mind off of the stuff that's going on within internet stuff. It's so weird. It's so weird. The level of like, telling people to go touch grass, but I can't even say that. You know what I mean? Some people don't really need to be outside. Some people just don't have no social cues. They don't know how to talk to people. They just weird as fuck. I don't even say go touch grass. I just learn how to be social. Learn how to know how to talk to people first, and then after it is you know how to engage in conversations. Then you can go outside and touch grass. But it's I see what Charlie's talking about though. It is.
And then if I don't
annoying.
talk about something, or if I don't talk about something fast enough in the time that some people think is appropriate, I'm then accused of covering up for something for an ulterior evil motive. So it just really feels like a rock and a hard place where, regardless, it's just going to be a massive flood of negativity. And a huge critique of me that I've always seen is Charlie's a fence sitter. He's just a fucking fence-sitting enlightened centrist cuck, this and that. And I've always said for the entire time I've been on the internet, I'm not special. I'm literally just a normal guy who got very lucky. I just sit here, joke about shit, talk about my opinion on things, and nothing else. I don't have a unique perspective on things. I don't have deep insight into the vicissitudes of certain things. I am literally just a guy who yaps, has some fun, talks about shit, does some wacky stuff as well, and that's it. It's just not that deep. But because everything is so inflammatory and charged online, it's being perceived in the last, I'd say like the last 2 years, it's really popped off as me making deliberate attempts to appease both sides and play right down the middle to soak up as much as possible. Like it's all this like nefarious scheme where I'm doing this with my hands. And
I've learned this when it comes down to doing like reactions and commentary of things that's going on within the streaming community or like the content creation community. You're not going to be able to appease everybody, even though it is that you're, I've never seen Charlie in any type of like issues or anything like that. Like he usually is spot on when it comes down to talking about things that's going on. But people, I've realized it is that you cannot live life trying to appease everybody. It's not gonna happen, and you're gonna wrap your brain trying to do so at the end of the day. Because some people are going to be like, they're gonna have an issue with something it is that you did or something it is that you said. You could have said something it is that was literally you cannot debunk, but somehow or another it is that they'll still try to find a reason or find something to argue about that, and it's just so damn weird to me, bro. It's weird.
just don't understand how it's
But I get what he's
become
saying.
so incendiary where that's apparently like a really bad thing now. My opinion is not special, and my opinion isn't one that's pandering to any sides or catering to anything. It's literally just whatever's up here. I sit down for like 30 to 45 minutes on like a topic or like a video that I'm joking around about, and I talk about it. I am legitimately just an average, well, below average height guy who's about to turn 30. I'm not just spitting hot takes out the wazoo here. I'm just being myself. That's all this channel ever has been. And now it's become super controversial to do that if it's not like, picking sides on everything,
Right.
it seems. And it's very
Good question.
frustrating. For the longest time, it was just me
made an
having
edit of
fun.
me?
And for the most part, it still is. But I've started to recognize over the last few months that some of the things I do just really aren't fun for me to do, and I've been doing them out of obligation. Mainly internet drama. When I initially started covering drama so many years ago now, it was fun, because it wasn't as serious. Like, the stories were a lot, more quirky. It was easy to get invested because it was kind of just like a soap opera, like a really dumb soap opera. But recently it's been much more serious, and I feel the need to talk about these things because a lot of them are extremely serious with very important topics to discuss.
Right.
But it has become draining. As much as I never wanted to admit it, I've started to recognize
okay.
that my
I'll check
mood
it
is
out.
immediately impacted by whatever I read on Twitter in the morning. if that's some horrible stuff about a creator or what have you, it immediately affects my entire day and my whole outlook on the day. Now I know, wah, call the wambulance, get some French fries, just fucking whining about having to talk about drama. What a stupid problem to be upset about. But I'm just trying to explain that it hasn't been as fun recently. It hasn't. And the
Okay.
main thing, if you've been around the channel for a while, is I've always wanted this to be fun and never feel like a job. And as hard as it is for me to admit this, a lot of this kind of stuff, it has just started to feel like less fun and more of, well, gotta do this because I'm expected to. Like anytime I go live, most of chat is just telling me about the latest in whatever's happening in the creator space or some other like extremely negative thing going on. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to learn all about that once I turn stream off. So then I spend a few hours learning about these things, and it's all just really upsetting stuff. Like it's not happy. It's all very sad, bad stuff.
Yeah,
And it's been
get
making
it.
me
I get what he's saying, man. I get it. Like streaming is great until it starts feeling like a job, especially when you cover things it is that's going on and topics and stuff. Look at how 2024 ended up being, to where ever since Cat Williams talked about like everything it is that's done in the dark is going to come to light. E- Ever like it's almost like every week. Well, I will say every month. Every month there has been a new person being exposed for being a pedophile, talking to minors, sexting, doing all this other stuff and whatnot. That's exhausting to talk about all the time. You know what I mean? Occasionally before like 2024, you'll get a couple things of drama and stuff like that. You get a break, you get some fun stuff and everything like that. But it has been consecutively of just new drama, new drama, new drama, new drama. And that's draining after a while. Discussing important topics does matter. If you're not invested in it, it's better for all parties to, yeah, disengage. Yeah. Artists have tried to come after real Zoe? Why? On his Messy Mondays, I said that is that he doing his job. Is like, if you don't want your business out there, then don't. I do agree with that. Yeah. I do agree with that.
not happy. So I definitely think I'll be slowing down on covering internet related drama or like drama in general. I'll still talk about like really wacky stories and shit like that, but I definitely think I'm gonna be pumping the brakes on like the kind of drama I have been covering recently. And instead, I'm gonna go back to focusing on the content that I'm most happy with. Like, if you ask me what content I'm most proud of throughout my entire time on this platform for the last like 17, 18 years, none of it would be drama coverage. It'd be things like Skynut. It'd be things like shooting a potato at a tennis racket to see if you can make French fries in midair by frying them in hot oil. It's shit like that. And I think I'm going to go back to that kind of stuff as opposed to the direction that I have been going recently.
No, I feel
So,
you. I
yeah,
definitely
this
feel
was
you.
a lot to go over here, but I hope this has cleared everything up. And yeah, that's really about it.
I get you, Charlie. I really do. It is draining. It is very draining. So that was good, Jedi. How are you? But no, I feel that. I really do. You gotta protect your mental at the end of the day, because it's too much stuff that's going on. But and listen, Charlie, shout outs to you. Thank you so much for the video. Shout outs says thank you as well. Shout outs to y'all in the chat. Shout outs to you at home. I do it with this hand. I'll catch y'all in the next video.